Nobody talks about the cost.
Fun performing. Every time we get better.
They talk about the Grammys. They talk about the stadium tours. They talk about the visual albums and the cultural moments that break the internet in half. They talk about Beyonce like she fell from the sky fully formed, untouchable, flawless, chosen by God himself. But let me ask you something. What if the most celebrated woman in music history almost never made it? What if the girl behind the legend spent years being starved, controlled, humiliated, and broken while the world watched and called it glamour? What if everything you think you know about Beyonce is only half the story? Because the half they never tell you is the one that actually matters. Houston, Texas, a middle-class black family, a father who sells medical equipment, a mother who runs a hair salon and sews costumes with her bare hands late into the night, and a little girl so painfully, cripplingly shy that her teachers pull her parents aside with genuine concern. She does not speak in class. She avoids eye contact. She looks at the floor when adults address her. Nobody, not one teacher, not one classmate, not one person in that entire school building would look at that quiet, withdrawn little girl and predict what was coming. But then she walks into a dance class. The music comes on, and her teacher sees something she has never seen in years of working with children. The shyness vanishes completely. Something electric takes over, raw, undeniable, and impossible to look away from. She enters a local talent show at 7 years old and wins. First place, over kids who are older, louder, and far more experienced. Her teacher calls the family that same night and says, "Your daughter has something I cannot explain. You need to take this seriously." Her father, Mathew Knowles, hears those words and makes a decision on the spot that changes both their lives forever. He quits his job. He becomes her manager. He bets the entire family on his daughter's gift. And that single decision is simultaneously the greatest thing that ever happens to Beyonce and the heaviest burden she will ever carry. Mathew Knowles does not run a hobby. He builds a machine. Rehearsals become grueling. Hours become impossible. He refinances the family home to fund the group Beyonce joins with other young Houston girls. Tina Knowles stays up through the night sewing their costumes by hand. Every dollar the family owns is poured into this dream. Then comes the moment that is supposed to launch everything. The group lands a spot on Star Search, the most watched talent competition on American television. Millions of viewers, a national stage, the break every young performer in America spends their childhood dreaming about. They perform, the scores come in, they lose. Beyonce is 10 years old, standing on national television, watching someone else take the trophy. She goes home that night. She does not quit. She does not fall apart. She does not ask her father to let her stop. She goes back to rehearsal the next morning. Because Mathew Knowles has built a household where failure is not an ending, it is instruction. You study it, you understand it, and you come back better. That philosophy will drive Beyonce to a level of greatness the world struggles to fully comprehend. But it also takes something from her she can never get back, her childhood, completely gone. While other girls in Houston are at sleepovers and school dances, Beyonce is in a rehearsal room every single day for years. She later tells interviewers she does not remember having a normal childhood, that the girl she was before the music is someone she barely recognizes anymore. The group eventually becomes Destiny's Child. They sign to Columbia Records. But the road is ugly. Members get replaced. Lawsuits get filed by former members' families. And the drama spills across every major entertainment publication in America. Critics openly declare the group finished before they have truly started. Beyonce keeps rehearsing. And then the music hits the world like a freight train. Bills, bills, bills. Say My Name. Survivor. Destiny's Child becomes the best-selling female group in history. Grammys, sold-out arenas, complete cultural domination. But behind every magazine cover, Mathew Knowles is controlling everything. Not just the music, everything. What they wear, what they say in interviews, what they eat, how much they weigh. Beyonce later reveals that her father placed the group on an extreme restricted diet at the absolute height of their success. She is a teenager, a child, performing at the highest level in the world, and she is not being fed properly. The The control is total. The pressure never stops. She has not had a single real day off in years. When her solo career launches, the world sees nothing but power and confidence. Crazy in Love detonates globally. She wins 5 Grammy Awards in a single night, more than any woman had ever won in one ceremony at that point in the history of the award. What the cameras never catch is Beyoncé backstage, privately unraveling for the first time in her life. She has been managed, shaped, and directed since she was 7 years old. She does not fully know who she is when the music stops. She is one of the most recognizable women on the entire planet, and she is quietly, completely lost inside herself. She does the only thing she has ever known how to do. She keeps working. Then she makes the most painful professional decision of her life. She fires her father, the man who built everything from nothing, who quit his career for her, who sacrificed the family's financial security for her dream. Separating from him means stepping into the industry completely alone. No blueprint, no safety net, nothing familiar. She does it anyway. She launches her own company, Parkwood Entertainment. She stops asking for permission and starts making every decision herself. She's not just an artist anymore, she's the CEO of her own empire, and the results are immediate and undeniable. But then comes the grief that no stage could ever prepare her for. She and Jay-Z lose pregnancies, more than one. She carries this completely alone while performing sold-out stadium shows, smiling for cameras, and accepting trophies in front of millions of people. The world sees a superstar at her absolute peak. She is privately devastated. She goes into the studio one Friday night with zero announcement, zero press campaign, zero warning of any kind. She drops a complete album. 14 songs, 17 music videos. Finished, released, done. The industry reacts with genuine panic. You cannot do this. There is a system. There is a promotional cycle. This is professional suicide. It becomes the fastest selling album in iTunes history. Then comes Lemonade, a 60-minute visual album that addresses infidelity, black womanhood, generational pain, rage, grief, and forgiveness, all in one breath. The most private, vulnerable thing she has ever created, released to the entire world without a single warning. It wins the Peabody Award. It gets studied in university classrooms across the world. Critics call it one of the greatest artistic achievements in the entire history of popular music. A woman took her most private devastation and made millions of strangers feel less alone in their own. Her Renaissance tour becomes the highest grossing concert tour ever by a black artist in history. She performs shows nearly 3 hours long, dances through every single one, personally oversees every light, every costume, every second of what 60,000 people experience from the moment they walk through the door. She has been doing this for over 30 years, and she has never, not once, given anything less than everything. So here is the truth about Beyonce that the highlight reels will never show you. She lost her childhood to this. She carried grief in silence for years. She was controlled, restricted, and shaped by someone who loved her and damaged her at the same time. She was privately lost at the height of her public glory. She took her own betrayal and turned it into the most celebrated album of her entire generation. And through all of it, every single dark and invisible moment of it, she never stopped. That is not talent. That is not luck. That is a woman who decided over and over and over again across 3 decades that the work was worth the cost. The cameras always catch the performance. They never catch what it took to get there. But the cost, the silent, unglamorous, lifelong cost, was always the real story. It just took this long for someone to